We're at Lord's for the 15th Cross Sports Book Awards. It's a star-studded event. We're going to celebrate sports stars right across the world.
We'll be crowning the very best in sports writing, the best cricket, cycling, football and rugby books of the year. There'll be awards for outstanding sports writing, for new writing, for illustrated and international sports books, not forgetting the best sports autobiographies and biographies, and we'll be honouring the legendary writer Hugh McIlvenney for his outstanding contribution to sports writing.
Yes, we will. Now, I'm hosting the awards ceremony. Ali's upstairs in the green room with all of our winners. She'll chat to them. It's going to be quite something, and you get the chance to vote for the overall sports book of the year. So sit back, relax and enjoy. It should be some night.
Sports writing, I think, is getting better and better. The judging panels are showing great enthusiasm and taking their work very seriously. So we're very pleased with the results so far.
I'm giving an award to my huge friend Hugh McIlvenney.
The Cross Book Award is such a prestigious award, and to be nominated is a great achievement in itself.
Yeah, it was a very, very strong field and a very difficult decision to try and find a winner.
People kept talking about finding your style. I had no idea what the hell that was, and I'm not sure I'm any wiser now. But if people like it, then I'm flattered.
All those autobiographies were brilliant. You know, it's a job to decide what is better than another. Really, to be honest, they all tell their own story, and they're all very good.
I think all the books were interesting, which, I mean, that sounds odd, but sometimes they're not great stories, but these were all very good stories, well told. So it was hard to judge. It was hard to judge it.
I could really identify with some of the books and some of the individual stories.
But I wanted to get it, spot on, and a book that I'm really proud of, and I'm very pleased to be able to say that we've done that.
Some fantastic books up there, and looking forward to seeing, all the fantastic people who've taken the time to write those, put them together.
The inspirational speech here, or somebody said something there, and that inspirational word that takes somebody over the line. That's what I'm kind of looking forward to hearing about tonight. And if I can pick up a book to read on holiday, then all the better.
We're always looking for something different, something original in its approach, and we've done pretty well this year, I think.
Well, as you can see, there are lots of famous faces here tonight, but the awards are about to get underway, so let's head over to Mike and find out who the first winner is.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 15th Annual Cross Sports Book Awards, and a special welcome to all our nominees, authors, sports stars, journalists and publishers. Now, my co-host tonight is Test Match Specials' Alison Mitchell. I'm hosting the awards ceremony in here. Ali's in our green room up in the media centre over there, chatting with all of tonight's winners with a studio audience. So hopefully this will work. Ali?
Hello, Mike. Good evening, everyone. If you haven't been to this awards dinner before, well, this is the only thing you'll see of me tonight. But if you are an award winner, you will come over to the media centre, and we'd love to have a bit of a chat with you. You can meet my lovely audience. Everyone happy? Well, thank you. They're a happy bunch. They're only going to get happier as the night goes on. We're really looking forward to the evening, so all that remains to say is you have a great evening, and back to you, Trevor.
Thank you very much. OK, let's get underway with our first award of the evening. For a sport which throws up some fantastic publishing and writing. It's been through a little bit of controversy over the last year, but still occupies a central place in British sport. I'm talking about cycling, of course. Here are the nominees for this year.
Laura Trott and Jason Kenny, The Inside Track. Laura Trott and Jason Kenny. Triumphs and Turbulence, my autobiography, Chris Boardman. The Cyclists Who Went Out in the Cold, Tim Moore. The Invisible Mile, David Coventry. Shut Up Legs, Jens Vogt. At the Edge, Writing for My Life, Danny McCaskill.
Right, here's Simon Brotherton from the BBC. Now, Simon.
Yeah, our winner in the cycling category is by Chris Boardman, Triumphs and Turbulence.
Thank you very much. Tim Moore, you were robbed, luckily by me. I'm not somebody who found this easy. I'd like to think of myself as a man of few words, and after a year and a half of writing, I realised that was a major impediment to writing a book. And I actually, Andrew Goodfellow, who's in the room from Ebury tonight, who's one of the most incredibly persuasive people on the planet. I said, Andrew, we need to meet up. I need to give you your money back. I'm not doing it. Here's all your money. I put the £20 on the table. And somehow I walked out still writing this book. So for that, in a twisted way, thank you very much.
Chris Boardman.
Well, I'm delighted to say that Chris Boardman is here, winner of the Cycling Book of the Year. For Triumphs and Turbulence. Chris, a huge congratulations to you. In the writing of this book, I'm interested, did you ever consider using a ghost? Because you wrote this yourself. Was that very important to you?
We did briefly, just for expediency's sake, really. And a person I'd worked with for many years, Jeremy Whittle, wrote a chapter, and I read it, or more specifically, my wife Sally read it, and she said, no, it's way too pleasant, not miserably enough, it's not you. And it became apparent very quickly that if it was going to get written, it had to be by me, which is not something I specifically wanted to do. And I found it incredibly difficult. And it's a hard thing to do when you take experiences of your life, or take this 10-year period, or working on the Tour de France for many, many years, and get it down to 2,000 words. It feels like a responsibility. And it was almost cathartic when you look back and realise you're not a very pleasant kid, and which you were in your 20s. And it's a chance to try and make amends and to apologise to people that weren't treated well. So it wasn't necessarily the experience I wanted. I wouldn't call it pleasant. I wouldn't say it was something I wanted to do it again.
I was about to ask
Having
that.
done it, I'm pleased that I have, and that it's finished, and flattered that people have enjoyed it.
So would your wife say that you're a happier person now that you've written this book, if it was a little bit cathartic?
I'd love to see my wife sitting here doing this interview, because she's already downstairs telling people she's an award-winning author. Because we
Behind every
spent,
good man.
Well, you know, it is something of a cliche, but we spent days and days sat in Starbucks writing, and we became gold members in Starbucks because of this book. And I'd write and do the struggling bit, and then I'd go look at that, and she'd just reluctantly look up from what she was reading, skim over it, going, that's boring. And she'd just sow a seed. There would be, what about this? You didn't mention this. And that would be the inspiration to write something else. And it does sound melodramatic, but if there was such a thing in modern days, she's my muse, and has been for 30 years. So she wrote the book as much as I did, even though, annoyingly, she never put pen to paper.
Chris, thanks very much for popping up to speak to us. Many congratulations on Cycling Book of the Year. Chris Boardman, ladies and gentlemen.
So, on to the next award of the evening, the Fresh Time New Sports Writer of the Year. Let's have a look at the shortlist.
The Belt Boy, Kevin Lushing with Mike Dunn. How's Your Dad, Mick Channon Jr. Eat, Sweat, Play, Anna Kessel. Fearless, Jonathan Northcroft. And The Sun Shines Now, Adrian Tempany. Mr. Rowie Smith.
So joining us to present this one, the judging chair, Claire Tomlinson from Sky Sports, and Steve Evans, MD of sponsors Fresh Time. Claire, now I know, because I spoke to you earlier, that you actually loved the winning book, absolutely loved it. Without telling us what it is, why is it so special, if that's possible?
Well, the new writer category, I think, is the best category, because you never, ever know what you're going to get. And this year was a terrific category. Boxing, running, football, racing. But there was one book that just was so brilliantly written, so brilliantly researched, so moving, that beyond everything I think that we've ever read in this category over the last
Will you tell us?
7 years.
Who's won?
Fresh Time, New Writer of the Year, and The Sun Shines Now by Adrian Tempany.
Kind of lost for words, really. I wasn't really expecting this. I just really want to thank my girlfriend. Basically, she was my girlfriend on the 15th of April 1989 when I went to watch an FA Cup semi-final at Hillsborough. And she's here tonight. So she's just been a brick over the last 28 years. So thanks to the sponsors, thanks to the judges, and most of all, thanks to Deb.
Well done.
This must be quite a moment for you, Adrian.
Yeah, it is. It's the first thing I've ever won, actually. So very pleased. I think the book was meant to have come out in 2014, and it got pulled at the last minute. Contempt of court ruling held it up. So it came out in 2016. So it was a long process. It's just becoming worthwhile, yeah.
You survived the Hillsborough disaster.
Yep.
How did that experience change your perception, your outlook on football?
Well, I always knew, obviously, the truth, having been there, was not what was reported in the aftermath. In terms of football, I think that got the transformation of the game off on a false footing, really, because a lot of the vilification of football fans that happened after that meant that when the game came to be transformed, there was less consideration than there might have been as to the concerns and interests of football fans themselves. It was almost like a prescription was handed down. You know, this game has got to change. This is what we're going to do. And basically, the people who were at the sharp end of it were kind of cut out of the debate. Not least because we, in certain quarters, were blamed for causing the disaster. Obviously, it took us 23 years to prove that wasn't the case, by which time the game had been completely changed. The book begins with Hillsborough, it ends with what was going on at the recent inquest, which I was party to, but most of the book is about the modern game and what it's become and what it's come to mean. And what I've argued is that football isn't just a game, and it's not just a business, it's a culture.
I think it's an important book with an important message. Adrian, many congratulations on the award. Ladies and gentlemen, Adrian Kempany.
Now, the next award highlights the visual power of the captured moment or reflective era in sport. It's the Illustrated Sportsbook of the Year Awards. Let's take a look at the books on the shortlist.
The Lane, Adam Poley, Steve Perryman and Martin Cloak. Remarkable Cricket Grounds, Brian Levison. Running Beyond, Ian Corliss. Sprinter Sacre, The Impossible Dream, Bruff Scott. Chasing the Elements, Liv Williams. Formula One, The Pursuit of Speed, Maurice Hamilton, Paul-Henri Caillé and Bernard Caillé.
And waiting to hand it over is Steve Boys, European MD for Mark New sponsors Thomson Reuters, and he's joined by record champion trainer Paul Nicholls. Not champion trainer, second to Nicky Henderson. Is he just holding on to your title for you at the moment?
Yeah, second's not a bad thing in any sport, as you know. And last year we had a good year. I trained more winners last year than any other year. We've been training 171 winners, which was good. Nicky sort of had the better Grade 1 horses, and it's done the championship's done on prize money. Just pipped us. But if we trained 170 winners every season and won $2.5 million in prize money, we were well happy. So it's just borrowed for now.
So the judges felt the winning book was visually compelling with a theme layout supporting the images of a single location and the many sportsmen who'd graced its turf. The winner, named after a much-loved stadium which is about to be completely overhauled, is The Lane, Adam Powley and Martin Cloak.
It was fantastic for us as a couple of journalists and a couple of fans. We've been fans since we were kids. Adam's dad used to work on the gate at the ground. To be able to write a story about what a stadium really means, because it's not just buildings and a piece of grass. It is a cathedral. It might sound as if we're being a bit over the top about that, but it really means something because of the people that are in there, all the players and all the fans, all the people who've worked there. So it was fantastic to be able to commemorate the stadium, and we're just humbled by this. I think really surprised, and thank you so much.
If there's a dedication to be made, it's thank you to the people that have populated that place for 118 years. So this is dedicated to them.
Well, we've got the winners of the Illustrated Sportsbook of the Year with us, ladies and gentlemen. Adam Powley and Martin Cloak. And this is for The Lane. Quite a book, quite a tome. I mean, first of all, what does it feel like to have won?
Fantastic feeling. It's wonderful, you know, to be recognised by your peers, and it's a cliche to say it, but it's genuinely true. It was a really, really tough competition this year, some outstanding books, so, you know, we're just really pleased and humbled, really, like to be picked out and be selected, so very, very pleased.
Martin, how long did it take to compile and pull together all the material that is in that book?
I think the whole thing was a couple of years, but it was truncated down because, of course, there was a bit of uncertainty about whether Spurs actually would be moving from the stadium at the end of the season. It wasn't confirmed until a few months ago, so we had to kind of take a few chances, and there's a lot of understanding on all sides. We worked very closely with the club. Obviously, they had their own plans as well, which they needed to go ahead with. But I mean, they were incredibly helpful. They wanted to see the stadium off in the right way. And we were it was so good to be able to do it, to work with all of the, the people that worked at the club, the people that have played there, to have the contact with some of the, the legends of the game that have played there for so many teams as well as Spurs, and also to just write the story of the people who filled the stadium up in the stands as well as on the pitch as well. So, it's something that meant a lot to us, and I think it's always easy to, to write from the heart like that, but to have other people recognise that, you sometimes think maybe this is just my thing, and to have other people recognise that and to see that it really did stand for something is, as Adam said, it's quite humbling, which is maybe an odd word to use, but we do feel genuinely humbled by it, don't we?
Yeah,
I was going to say, is this very much a labour of love?
It is, and we come to it as journalists and as authors, but fundamentally as fans as well. So we, with the colleagues that we were working on it, Doug Cheeseman, who was the art editor, who can't be here tonight, but he's really put his heart and soul into the visual element of the book, and it's borne fruit, because I think it does look great. And in terms of kind of like how long the story is, actually it's a kind of 118-year-old story, because that's what it is. It's about a football club that's been rooted in its community. It's been there since 1899, been in this place, in this stadium, and it's about that story of the place, and most importantly about the people that have come through the doors and have played on the pitch throughout that time.
I was going to say, I don't think you need to be a Spurs fan to enjoy this book, or even a football fan. A sports fan will connect with it. So congratulations.
That's fantastic to hear, sir.
On your book.
Thank you very much.
Everybody, Illustrated Sportsbook, Adam Powley and Martin Cloak.
Okay, on to our next awards, and it's a very appropriate award considering where we are tonight, because it's the PCA Cricket Book of the Year, which recognises some of the very best writing in sport. Let's see the nominations.
Richie, the man behind the legend, Ian Heads and Norm Tasker. A Beautiful Game, Mark Nicholas. Absolutely Foxed, Graham Fowler. Stroke of Genius, Gideon HAIGH. The Good Murungu, Alan Butcher. Unguarded, my autobiography, Jonathan Trott.
So here to give us his verdict on the shortlisted books, former England captain Bob Willis, and another cricket broadcaster and ex-international bowler, Isha Guha. Any fights in the judging panel this year? Got a bit nasty last year, if you didn't know.
Well, as you know, on the verdict, Mike, I'm not always that pleasant to the participants in the field, but I can tell you we were honoured to judge this year's books. A very, very strong field indeed, and a very difficult job.
Before Isha tells us who's won, Women's Cricket World Cup final, Lords, this summer. Just tell these people in this room why they need to get here and watch.
Yeah, it's quite incredible, really, that we have the final here on the 23rd of July. Mark that date. We're hoping for an England-Australia final. There's still time to buy tickets, and that would be fantastic for the women's game. So
sold. Now tell us who's won this cricket
So-
book of the year. So hold that.
the PCA's Cricket Book of the Year is A Beautiful Game by Mark Nicholas.
Mark isn't here. He's commentating on the one-day game in Leeds today, so he couldn't be with us, sadly. But we caught up with Mark earlier, and he sent us this.
Writing a book is a constantly surprising adventure. My aim was to share the game that I love, and to celebrate the game, its people, its places, its events, and to get across to as wide a berth of reader as I could, so that I hope it's not a book that's only for the cricket person, but for those on the fringes too, and maybe it'll draw them in to want to know more about this great game. Writing a book is a tough gig, by the way, a little harder than I thought it might be. But at the end of it, I felt so fulfilled. And of course, to win an award such as yours on top of that is well, it's an honor, and it's immensely flattering. So thank you.
Other winners tonight included Best Rugby Book of the Year was Paul O'Connell's The Battle.
Hello everyone, sorry I can't be there tonight. I'd like to thank you very much for the award. I'm absolutely delighted. I'd like to thank the judging panel and the sponsors, Arbuthnot Latham. I'd also like to thank Alan English, who helped me with the book. He was incredibly committed and incredibly passionate about producing a good book, and I'm really grateful for him, for his time and his patience. I'd also like to thank my publishers, Penguin Random, and that's it. Look, thanks very much for the award. I'm absolutely chuffed and absolutely delighted, and again, sorry I can't be there. I hope you all have a great night.
International autobiography was Diana Nyad's Find a Way.
And I put my heart into that book, Find a Way. It's my life. It was the emblem of living to the nth degree, the best I can every day. And as a moment of humor, actually, more than musical prowess, I'm going to play for you the song that I played on the rocks at Marina Hemingway in Havana before we took off on the 5th attempt and finally the successful attempt to make it from Cuba to Florida. It's my song, Reveille, Get Up, Don't Miss the Dawn, Don't Miss Anything. Have a great evening, everybody.
Well, don't go away. After the break, we'll be finding out who has won the Best Sports Autobiography of the Year, and we'll be presenting legendary writer Hugh McIlvanney with an award for an outstanding contribution to sports writing. Well, we've heard from a lot of very happy winners tonight. Let's go back to the main stage then to find out who has won the Best Sports Autobiography of the Year.
One of our illustrious judges, Dame Catherine Granger, will come up on stage, and with her Nicola Shepherd, who is the Sales and Marketing Director of our headline sponsor, Cross. First, though, let's hear from the nominees themselves and see some of the judges' deliberations.
In most of the books, it tells you a lot about the head, the mindset of these elite athletes. It's interesting that when success comes, it's not necessarily coming with happiness. In fact, in his case, quite the opposite.
It's a brilliant opportunity to read stories with people that I know, and some of them I know personally and or I've certainly read about or understood, and then you suddenly see it from a different side because it's a book just about them. They're fantastic stories and fantastic people, and trying to find a way to judge that. How do you judge that? Because obviously part of you just wants to read the great story that's in front of you, and part of you is doing it with a slightly critical eye of how is the story being told, and am I as enthused and as intrigued about it as I should be.
So I was being asked all the time about my career, and I just thought, wait a minute, I haven't put this in the book yet. So I thought I better put it in the book, then I can talk about it. This is almost 2 books. This is about my childhood and growing up, and the effects of being the son of someone famous who was doing motor racing as well, about my parents' relationship. It's an attempt to understand how that affected my determination to succeed in the same arena as my dad. I do like the cover of the book, so they've done me proud on the cover. I think I'm very proud of it. He's much better looking, that's the problem.
It is, acknowledgement obviously for a lot of effort that went into the book, and it was something that I wanted to be very proud of at the end of it, and I certainly feel like we're able to achieve that. And so that when people read my story, get an insight to what it's like being a professional cricketer playing for England, growing up in a different country.
In the times leading up to actually getting this book done, I had to right a lot of wrongs with family. I told them I'm going to be talking about things that a lot of them are going to be uncomfortable with, but if I'm going to do the book, it's going to have to be worth people's while. If people are going to actually go and spend money, and now a book's being nominated, then you want to make sure that people are getting value for their money. And there's nothing, I've not held back in there, and it was quite a good experience for me. It was an empowering thing for me, and I got a lot off my chest.
Really fun to be able to tell my story and look back over the memories of my childhood and things like that. And really it was all about writing about being a schoolgirl runner to when I finally achieved my goal of winning a gold medal at the European Championships in Zurich in 2014.
It's strange for me because it's just your life, and you kind of feel kind of humbled that you've had the opportunity to write it. Being a kid from a council estate in Liverpool, and growing up and the only thing you want to do was play football. You never envisaged being up for awards and having the book do as well as it's done, and the fact that people care to read a book about your life journey to this point is, as I say, very humbling.
I think the thing is, most aspects of my life are slightly unexpected. It's never been normal, it's never been the straightforward, I trained hard, I did this, I succeeded. There'd always been these things and problems along the route, and to be honest, when anybody reads about the start of my life, I don't think anybody would have ever expected me to go on to be a professional sports person, so I think that initially was very unexpected. I think it was something that people wouldn't expect, so it made sense to go with it like that.
They are quite something. How tough was the process to pick a winner?
Oh, really, really tough. Everyone said that for every category. These are 6 absolutely exceptional athletes who have already carved their own sort of place in the history of sport. And I think for the judging panel, and we all agreed on this, although you start reading thinking you know the stories, every single one of these books opens up a whole different side that you couldn't predict and couldn't expect. They can't all be winners, obviously, but I would urge everyone to read any of them. Any of the stories you think you know already, then read the books, because there's much, much more to the story. But I'll let you announce the winner.
Tell us.
Thank you. And the winner is No Nonsense by Joey Barton.
I didn't expect this. Very, very rarely you get me struggling for words. As I look out amongst you this evening, I get that overwhelming feeling of, I wonder what price I would have got in the bookies for winning this award. Because I thought I was an outsider for this award at best. So kind of kicking myself at this present time. Got a fantastic family behind me. Very dysfunctional, to say the least. But somehow it's managed to work for me to get me in this position. Obviously, my partner's been a massive part of my journey. And everybody else connected in it, some great friends and everybody that's shared a journey along the way. And for everybody who voted for it, truly appreciate that. And the other nominees, and you're so unlucky because fantastic books out there.
Well done, mate.
Well, so much has happened tonight already, and now we have the winner of the Sports Autobiography of the Year. Joey Barton is here, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. And Mike Calvin, who wrote the book with Joey. Welcome to you both, and congratulations, Joey. Now, the first thing that you have said to me is that you didn't think you would finish this book. Tell me why.
Yeah, it's a difficult process when you delve into your mind and what's gone on and delve into the time before you were famous, really. So we signed with another publisher, and we had a difference of how we felt the book should be portrayed, what we wanted to put in there. You know, they really wanted to go with the caricature that was in the public domain at the time. It was like, this is not about this. This is a different story. And there was a bit of a Mexican standoff, and me being me, decided, look, we'll give you the money back and we won't write the book. They'll probably be kicking themselves now. And then we found a publisher that worked and suited us. You know, it was an exhaustive process finding a writer that was compatible with. And, you know, remember one of the earlier meetings with Mike, and he never said it in as many words, but pretty much said, I don't like you. And from everything I've read about you, I was like, this guy will do. He gets it.
Straight talking.
Yeah, and we just hit it off from that moment. You know, and it was a tough process. You know, when the expertise of Mike as a writer, you know, the real skill there was the ability to unlock doors that I'd bolted, chained, put away for never to be revisited again. And with his craft and the way he went about it, the places we visited, and you know, the real art of being a fantastic author, and you know, the job he done, it's a real testament to it, where the book's at. And I said to him, look, if you come on board and write this book, I'll give you everything. I'll give you my heart and soul. And I think that's why we've ended up with, you know, the finished book the way we have. There's no stone been left unturned. And you know, as I say, it's as much Mike's book as it is mine.
Is that all correct, Mike, what he says? Were you apprehensive to begin with?
Not apprehensive. It was the one thing that people probably underestimate in someone doing a book under his or her own name is the moral courage that is required to actually be yourself, truly yourself, in public. Like all journos, you do your research, and I spoke to his managers, and they all said the same thing. If you give him 100%, he'll give you that back. And that's what the book has proved to me. I made a couple of demands.
Which were?
We had to go to prison together. I wanted to go to prison to actually almost confront Joe with where he'd been, the culture that he could have actually embraced were it not for football, but also the positivity of that. You know, what we said is, look, we can't make you like Joe. We can make you understand him. And I think people understand him more and probably respect him more for that.
So Joe, what was it like then, first of all, going back to prison with Mike?
I was just hoping I could get back out. For the period before that, I didn't have that choice. I think it's a strange process when you go into prison, because we all think we're a million miles away from it. Even sitting here in a house, having somebody who's been in prison, and you realise just how fragile the ecosystem is that we live upon. You had a couple of bad decisions and a couple of really unlucky decisions away from having your liberty taken away from you. And to get that perspective, you know, at the time you're like, what have I done? I've really messed up here. And all of a sudden you land and you think, actually, I'm so far from rock bottom. You know, get yourself together, pull yourself together here. There's a story, there's something to come out of this. So even with all the furore and all the kind of nonsense that's going on in and around my professional career at the moment, there's the ability to swim through it. You know, not many people can absorb what I've been able to absorb in my personal life and also in my professional life. And I think, you know, for all the faults that I have, and there's many, many of them, you know, the dark part of me that exists inside, you know, I'm open about it, I embrace it, I say, look, there's more to everybody. You know, people who are doing the right thing, you know, be wary of what can happen. People who are having a tough time, be wary of, you know, there is an opportunity to do the right thing. So for me, I hope people pick it up. I never wrote the book to win awards. I never wrote the book to pick up the check off the publisher. For me, it wasn't about that. It wasn't about nights like tonight. You know, if some people pick the book up and it changes their opinion of me, then great, so be it. But ultimately, I would hope to reach out to people who are, you know, just struggling, people who are looking at my journey thinking, you know, you're just a footballer and you've been mega talented and you've got to play football. When actually, you know, along with a lot of the other autobiographies up for tonight and a lot of the other books up for tonight, I think they go to understand what is the real challenge to be anything, you know, not just a sportsman, just being a human being. You know, we've all got struggles. Some of us are just fortunate enough to be able to get a publisher to pay you quite a lot of money to talk about them.
Mike, just briefly, are you proud of this man who sits next to you?
Very, because Joe's speciality is proving himself against the odds. And I don't bet. If I did, I wouldn't bet against him playing in the Premier League again.
Mike and Joey, congratulations on the book. Thanks so much for coming and sharing.
Thank you.
Other winners tonight included Biography of the Year was won by Robert Wainwright for the Maverick Mountaineer.
History recognises few heroes and heroines, and sometimes there are many stories behind them, people alongside them who are just as great to remember. And I think that there are some wonderful stories here tonight. And so thank you very much for having me.
Football Writers' Book of the Year was won by Oliver Kay for Forever Young. Unfortunately, Ollie can't be with us tonight because he's got a good excuse. He's in the delivery room in a Leeds hospital for the 10 days overdue birth of his baby. In his place, though, is editor Richard Milner.
By the end of this evening, I hope we will be celebrating a new arrival in the Kay family. So maybe this award will end up as only the second most exciting thing to happen to me today. But I am truly delighted. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, don't go away. After the break, we'll be presenting legendary writer Hugh McIlvanney with an award for an outstanding contribution to sports writing. Hello, welcome back. Just a reminder of how you can vote for the overall Cross Sportsbook of the Year. Just go to the website to cast your vote, www.sportsbookawards.com.
Now, this award has been presented only a few times over the 15-year history of our awards, and only then to very deserving recipients. It is the outstanding contribution to sports writing. So to mark this special moment, please welcome on stage Sir Michael Parkinson.
Thank you. Before I put in my two penneth about my friend and a hero, let's hear from people who've worked with him over the long time that he's been in Fleet Street and a journalist.
I'm a fan, unashamedly so, but also away from the typewriter or the computers it became. Hugh was great company, and you knew when you went into a bar and saw Hugh McIlvanney standing at the counter, you were in for a very stimulating evening.
Football's a game of opinion. I mean, it's a game of many things, but above all, it's a game of opinion. But if your opinion happens to coincide with McIlvanney on anything, you relax and are reassured. To me, as a writer of opinion and authority, he remained right at the top, having done it, as I say, throughout my whole lifetime.
You know, when Hugh writes and he describes, you know, any of the, not just the athletes, but the occasions and whether it's the weather involved or, you know, the emotions going through it, it's very visceral. And I think that reality is opened up to you as a reader. And as a wannabe athlete or wannabe champion, that's all you need.
What makes him so good? I've never worked with anyone who cares so much about the quality and honesty of his work. The agonies he puts himself through when wrestling with a piece are truly painful to witness. Every comma has to be in the right place. Every fact has to be checked. And of course, Hugh will admit himself that he enjoyed working in the very best period for sports writers, when you could enjoy year after year of meaningful access to true sporting giants.
It's fantastic, isn't it, that he gets this Lifetime Achievement Award on this prestigious night and stage for Hugh?
It's nice to be recognised, and I'm quite sure he'll have a bit of a swagger about him as though it's no big deal, this is what I do. But good on him, good on him.
Hi Hugh, I'm sure you recognise where I am right now, a place you've been many times and went to some great events and maybe not so great events with the Scottish Connection, with Dave Mackay, who I believe was the greatest ever. I'm sorry I can't be with you tonight. I'd love to have been there to share your night with your family and your friends. But please have a glass of red for me. Make sure you have a great night, and I'll see you soon, I hope.
I first met Hugh in '66 when I joined the paper. I got to know him better when I became deputy editor in '69, and then even better as editor from '75. So we have known each other pretty well, 50 years now, and I'm proud to regard him as a friend. I think if Hugh looks back on his career, what he will hope to have achieved is to illuminate the sport that people were watching and make them understand what they're watching better, and to educate sports viewers and readers in the details of their sport, in the way that he has.
A great writer is a great writer. Hughie used to write so many things where all of us, I think I could speak for all of us, would say, damn, I wish I thought of that. So he won Journalist of the Year because he was that year, and other years as well, the best journalist in the business, not simply the best sports journalist in the business.
Now, with a journalist of such a beguiling style, it's difficult not to believe his great gift was all he ever needed to win every award going. But to think that would be to actually miss the point. His greatest asset, in my view, is as a reporter. And he once wrote, as a reporter, I've always seen the game through my own eyes, making the point that nowadays many journalists attending games, and I quote Hughie here, are unable to report until they've had the game interpreted by a manager or a player. He added, you feel if they went blind, their working efficiency would be unaffected. But if they went deaf, they would not have the first idea of what happened in the park. He said, it's a plague and it's spreading. Now, I wrote that 20 years ago. He's right then and he's even more right now. But maybe the greatest gift that he possesses is a sense of humour, often illuminating a report with a marvellous wisecrack. My favourite came in his report of the rumble in the jungle when Ali toppled George Foreman. Hugh wrote of that extraordinary event, and I quote, we should have known that Muhammad Ali would not settle for an ordinary old resurrection. He had to have an additional flourish. So, having rolled away the rock, he hit George Foreman on the head with it. Once more, I do wish that I'd written that. Welcome to winner of the Lifetime Achievement Award, Hugh McIlvanney.
Well done, Hugh. Very many congratulations.
Okay. Thank you, Sir Michael, for your part in tonight and much else during all the decades we've known one another. I'm truly grateful to the Cross Sportsbook Awards for honouring me in this way. The extent to which I feel flattered shouldn't be difficult to gauge after a glance at the list of previous recipients. At the same time, I must confess to a mild concern over the possibility that on occasions such as this might develop a slightly elegiac tone, that there could be a hint that my professional activities are being obituarized. I'd like to emphasize to Alec Butler, the Sunday Times sports editor who's out there at my table, that I'll be looking to go on earning a crust or two from infiltrating his pages now and then. Being largely but not totally retired can be a strange and hazardous condition. Many people seem to assume that one is available to be roped into all kinds of projects on an amateur basis. Often they employ what is, for me, one of the most dreaded blandishments in the language. But surely you'll find this a labor of love. Trying to get pieces right has always involved too much labor for me to let love have much to do with the process. Another utterance that, to my mind, has a deadly ring is, "You'll find he's a wonderful after-dinner speaker." All too frequently, that promise has led to an experience about as enjoyable as a quiz night with Torquemada. So I won't detain you long with my ramblings, but I do want to acknowledge that throughout my working years, I was blessed with an advantage or two now denied to those in my trade. The biggest difference, of course, is the degree of meaningful access to major figures of sport that my generation had. We didn't have to overcome a plague of restrictive press conferences and shallow sound bites. The sports writing troops of the electronic age have my sympathy. Some of my fondest memories are of my companions in the field, and a long succession of sports editors have been extraordinarily supportive. None more so, I can say, without resorting to ingratiation, than the Butler man I've mentioned. Editors, too, have been encouraging influences. That is exceptionally so of Donald Trelford during his 18 yards. He was always inside the penalty box, Donald. During his 18 years in charge of the Observer. Of course, for a long time now, the most vital backing of all has come from my wife, Caroline. And I'm just not talking about endless loving support. Her brains can help considerably when what's happening in my attic isn't entirely productive. But my final thought on the evening, ladies and gentlemen, must be that you could fill Wembley if you got together all the people who deserve a Lifetime Achievement Award for putting up with me over the years.
Well done. Thanks, sir. Well done, Sir Michael. Now, remember, there remains some unfinished business. That is, you decide which of tonight's individual winners will carry off the title of Best Overall Cross Sportsbook of the Year. Now, voting will be conducted by an online poll. You vote for your favourite Sportsbook of the Year by visiting the voting page at sportsbookawards.com. Now, the winner of the Times Sportsbook of the Year will be announced in the Times on Monday, June the 16th, just 6 days before Father's Day. The British Sportsbook Awards executive would like to thank you all for attending this occasion and to thank all the sponsors and the supporters without whom this annual event just wouldn't be possible.
And thanks to you, our audience, for journeying with us through this year's Cross British Sportsbook Awards. We've had a great time. Hope you have too. From me, Alison Mitchell, and everybody here, good night.